Hi, welcome to the Day 2 tutorials of Project Mars by Absidy LLC. In the Day 1 tutorials, we previously discussed how the settings work, how to set alerts, and how to use Project Mars blue lines and red lines for crossover signals to get in and out of trending situations with great profitability and lower risk. Today in the Day 2 tutorials, we're going to look at two brief strategies about how to use Project Mars in different situations. The first situation that we'll be examining is how to use Project Mars to time the exit of an impulse move. The second situation that we'll be looking at with Project Mars is how to use Project Mars to clean up the information given by other indicators. Let's look at the first situation. Here on the 1st of August, we're looking at the gold chart on the 5-minute interval. At around noon, we got our first rumbles of an entry signal for a long position in Project Mars. This exploded into an upwards movement that Project Mars got in quite early. When is the end of the impulse? That's always the most difficult part of the impulse. You don't know quite when it will end. You don't want to be so fearful of securing profits that you exit the impulse only halfway, while you also don't want to be so greedy that you lose all your money when you try to wait too long and exit improperly on a pullback. Project Mars will give you the perfect balance between these at getting out of an impulse move right around the top. Here we can see in the light blue circle at the top where Project Mars exited. You can see it's not the exact top, but it's very, very close. While striking the perfect balance between exiting too early and too late, it tries to find the exact top. Likewise, if you look at the red crossovers, you can see that they also perform well. However, the red crossovers, as we discussed at the end of yesterday's tutorials, are designed so that they confirm when a new trend is emerging, while the blue lines offer early signals of the new trend. Therefore, the red lines are also good for timing impulse moves, but they are only secondary to the blue lines as they react a little slower. Again, another example from the beginning of August 2019 on the hourly charts of the S&P 500. We had a nice confirmation of a short entry on the beginning of August that ultimately turned into a downward impulse. Now, if we didn't know when to exit this impulse, we could have simply waited until the light blue line crossed over the dark blue line, which as you can see happened on the opening of the 6th. Not bad for securing profit here. And in no other focus of trading is timing impulses as important in cryptocurrencies, where cryptocurrencies can literally blow up overnight. Timing an impulse in cryptocurrency can be the difference between losing a little bit of money and making a whole lot of money. And to demonstrate this, let's look at the impulsive move upwards that Ripple made on May the 13th until May the 16th. Project Mars got us in a bullish trade at the very beginning of May the 13th. You can see that this exploded into an upward impulse that took Ripple from 32 cents to a peak of almost 48 cents in roughly 3 or 4 days. If we use Project Mars to time our exits of our impulses, we can exit just around the top. Here we got our exit signal at just around 45 cents. You can see that if we decided to hold out any longer, we would have dropped all the way back to 40 cents. The second strategy that we would like to explore today in Project Mars is how to use Project Mars to clean up the information given by other indicators. To highlight this, we're going to look at the S&P 500 daily chart and compare the S&P 500 daily closing, as you can see in pink, with the 500-day moving average in yellow and the Project Mars in light blue. One of the most basic strategies in trading is going long when price closes above the moving average, and likewise going short when it closes below the moving average. Whenever there's a moving average crossover, that will initiate a new trade in the direction that we crossed over. However, a common problem with this is that price may dance around both sides of a moving average very often, giving us a lot of whipsaw signals that we don't know what to trust or when to trust it before it's too late to enter a trade. With the advanced denoising technology that Project Mars uses, we can also use Project Mars to clarify whether a crossover over a moving average is a valid signal or just another whipsaw. To illustrate this, let's look at the times that the pink line, which is the daily closing of the S&P 500, crossed over the yellow line, which is the 200-day simple moving average, from April of 2015 to April of 2016. Starting with the crossovers on the left of the chart, we already have 4 crossovers of the daily closing with the 200 moving average. This gets worse as it bounces up and down above and below the moving average, adding 3 more crossovers. Then, after the drop, we have a particularly hard ranging situation that gives us a lot of whipsaws, with price closing above and below the moving average repeatedly for a total of 10 crossovers. Then, again, we have 1 smooth crossover just at the end on the right side of the screen. Altogether, in that 1-year duration, the closing price of the daily S&P 500 crossed over the 200-day moving average a total of 18 times. Let's compare this to the amount of times that the Project Mars made the crossovers in the same period of time. On the far left, we didn't have any crossovers where we were previously making 7 crossovers. Then we have 1 very important crossover when price makes a significant drop. As we move into the ranging period that gave us 10 crossover signals last time, we only have 4 crossovers with Project Mars. Lastly, we have that single crossover on the far right of the screen. Project Mars crossed over the 200-day moving average. What's important to notice here is that when price made extreme movements, Project Mars was not lagging at all. While in times where price was moving very slowly, Project Mars took its time to be certain that the crossovers that were happening were valid. In a lot of instances, this weeded all of the crossovers out, greatly reducing our confusion and whipsaws. And other times where the crossovers were significant, Project Mars was a little slow to respond. However, price had not moved very far in that time, and we were not at any major loss for waiting for Project Mars to confirm that this crossover was in fact significant. Instead of looking at the line chart of the daily closing price, let's see how much more complicated this picture is when we look at the candlestick chart of this exact same period. Here we're looking at all sorts of nasty crossovers, highs and lows that are making new crossovers, and huge amounts of whipsaws on both sides. Remember that in this whole year, Project Mars only made 6 crossovers that are highlighted here in the 3 dark blue circles. And just like that, we can apply any combination of indicators to Project Mars that will greatly enhance the ability of those indicators to give clean and easy to read signals. In this case, we applied Project Mars to the closing price of the S&P daily chart. What this allowed us to do is give us important information about which crossovers were happening that were valid, that we needed to bring our attention to, and strongly helped us to avoid whipsaws. This concludes the second day of tutorials for Project Mars by Absidy LLC. Thanks for watching our tutorials today, and we're excited to show you even more strategies in our last day of tutorials, day 3, tomorrow.